My name is Nisha Anne. I have been crocheting since about 2003. I think I started crocheting just after my grandmother died because my grandmother was a knitter. And so I used to grow up watching her knit, and she didn't crochet, her mother crocheted. So because her mother crocheted and was really good at it, my grandmother knitted instead. And so as a result, when I started, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to knit, I'll try crocheting. So because, don't want to trip on my grandmother. Anyway, I started doing it, and this was before I realized that there were YouTube tutorials and all that. So I actually taught myself wrong how to crochet. And so the first time, all the stitches were wrong, nothing fit and everything. And then I went away for a little while, and then I came back to it because a friend was having a baby. These things always start because someone's having a baby. And then I discovered, a friend told me about Ravelry. And then I discovered and I taught myself properly the way to crochet, the difference between US and UK and all that. And yeah, ever since then, I've just never looked back. I've just keep crocheting. I found it was really, really good for my mental health. Just in terms of starting a project, finishing a project, having something to work on that you can be proud of. And then also, is beautiful and functional. So yeah, and I pretty much get all my patterns off Ravelry. And that's when I started crocheting the second time around, that's when I discovered Morris & Sons. And I used to come here, and yeah, I pretty much only use Morris & Sons, the house brand, for my blankets, for the big projects. I like the fact that you can make something beautiful and it's functional, and it's also a bit of an heirloom. And I like the fact that if people appreciate crochet, because there are some people in the world who do not appreciate crochet, and they think, it's tacky and it's old, and I'm like, excuse me, it is not. And I love the fact that now, we have such beautiful colors, and we're not working with tiny, tiny hooks like they used to work with, So we can work with good size hooks, beautiful colors, beautiful colorways, and it goes faster. Crochet goes way faster than knitting, which is something I really appreciate. That's what I love about crochet. This little baby blanket, it's still on my Ravelry project, all my projects on my Ravelry. And it was this little baby blanket in blue that I used 2 shades of blue together. I was very proud of it at the time, and I put like a little ribbon border around it. I was very proud of it at the time. And then a couple of years later, I look back at it and I realized it's basically a dishcloth. I made a very big dishcloth. But the person I made it for loved it, so. How did I find about Morris & Sons? I think I basically Googled yarn stores in Sydney, because I work in the courts in Sydney, and all the courts are like around the CBD. So I was like, I remember once I was in court and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to run out of yarn. I need to Google where the closest yarn store is. And at the time, Lincraft was still here. So it was only Lincraft and Morris & Sons. And so between the 2 stores, that's where I came. And I remember it was so cool because that's when the yarn department was downstairs. So I would come racing across, come down the back alleyway, come into the back door, and into Morris & Sons. Tell you if I looked at my Ravelry, so it would definitely be over 10 years. Go-to yarn for making big projects is Empire 10 ply. Empire 10 ply for blankets, because most of my relatives are overseas and in New York and stuff, so they have really cold winters, much colder than ours. So that's why I go for 10 ply. If it's blankets for here, I go down to an Empire 4 ply, Empire 8 ply. I made myself a big blanket, which is always on my bed, in star stitch from the Empire 8 ply. I like Empire because it's got a lovely sheen to it. It's really lovely to work with. It's not scratchy, and it just wears well. Oh yes, I really would love a craft group. So like, a Friday night or a weekend group that we can just come and bring up projects and just sit around and talk. The other thing I was actually thinking of this morning, is it would be great to have like a tools service, because like my scissors have just gone blunt, and I was thinking it'd be so great if I could just go get them sharpened at Morris & Sons, because I know you guys have the ball winding service, which I think is fantastic. I don't use it because I wind my own balls, but I think that's fantastic. And buttons. I miss the buttons. My favorite color is the Clivia. That yellow. I just love that yellow. It's such a beautiful, soft, but still bright yellow. The Clivia is my favorite. I'm going through a bit of a yellow phase at the moment, but I think when the sunlight hits Clivia, it's just gorgeous. Favorite stitch is the star stitch. It's also called the marguerite. It's basically a cluster stitch. So you do, and it's a bit of a yarn eater. When I made a blanket out of it, the blanket ended up using 40 skeins of Empire 8 ply. That's my favorite stitch. You know, when I first started crocheting and I was completely obsessed with it, and I was thinking about this the other day, I would take my crochet everywhere. I would take it on, I would be crocheting on the bus, I would be crocheting, I used to crochet in the office. Like I would stop work, take my crochet bag into the kitchen, and I'll be sitting there madly crocheting for half an hour. I remember once I went to a play and I was sitting in the foyer and I was working on this fantastic shawl by my favorite crochet designer, Lily Go. And I was sitting in the foyer of the Belvoir Theatre and crocheting this thing because it was such a great pattern. And sometimes, because I used to work in courts, I used to crochet in court as well, and while I'm doing my job still. But yeah, no, now at the moment, I only crochet at home. In bed, I've got everything set up, so my light's all perfect. And if I'm working with black yarn, I've got my special focused light. Yeah, not that I work with black yarn much. Hey, my name is Nisha Anne. If you're thinking about a craft, I would recommend crochet because it goes so much faster than knitting. It is solid and a thick fabric, and sometimes it can be super lacy as well. And there's so many gorgeous colors and so many easy to use hooks, ergonomic hooks that you can use these days. And of course, you should check out Ravelry for all sorts of patterns, free and paid. And I like to use Morris & Sons yarn with crochet.